Hi everyone, it's Kerri from the Heritage Crafter. I'm jumping in to do a quick video in collaboration with the Grow Your Road project, and today we're going to be doing a garden sign. Isn't that pretty? We're going to be doing something called roses and castles. As you can see, no castles, we're just doing roses today, but that's the name of the traditional style, roses and castles, and it's canal art. So if you go down to the canal, or the cut as we call it in the Black Country, you might see boats painted with some of these beautiful roses on. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. So what are you going to need? First thing you need is something to paint on. Now I have got an old piece, actually I think it was the front of a drawer or something like that, that I've cut up, so you can see that it's bare wood. That's what I started off with. And then I've primed the wood with a wood primer, and then I've painted it black. Now usually this would be shiny if I'd used my normal paints for this, but I didn't want it to shine on the camera, so I've done it as a dull flat colour. But we'll get to that a little bit later on. So that's the first bit. And as you can see, I've used some staples just to attach a bit of old twine that I had, so we'll be able to hang it up a little bit later. Next, paints. What paints are you going to need? Well, I'm going to show you my paints first, but you don't have to use these. I don't expect everybody to have this kind of paint in their house. These are the paints that I use. This is an enamel paint from Craftmaster. These are perfect for anyone who's doing sign writing or canal art or anything that you want to go outside that will last a long time. And I've got a whole range of different colours, but you don't have to use enamel. If your children have got anything like acrylic paints, this is an Americana acrylic, you can use this as well. It's perfectly fine. As long as you put a little coat of varnish over the top, it will last you a few seasons out in the sun. So don't panic if you haven't got enamels. So a board, paint, brushes. So I'm using a couple of brushes here, a number 2 and a number 6. Doesn't really matter what size you use. You use whatever size you can get your hands on in the house while we're on lockdown, and you use anything you feel comfortable with. You're going to need stirrers for your paints. Absolutely not stolen from Costa's, I promise, because I wouldn't do that. That's wrong. And then something to clean your brushes in. So I'm using white spirit here because I'm using enamel. If you're using acrylics, then water will do. And you'll need a rag to clean your brushes off, or a piece of kitchen roll. Right, so what are we going to do? I'm going to show you the 3 steps. So we have 3 stages. Can you see that there? I'm going to paint the top stage to show you the base stage. Then we're going to move on to this middle stage here to show you what to do next. And then we're working towards this final section where we'll have petals and beautiful, lovely leaves. Right, so let's make a start. Now these paints I have here from Craftmaster are wonderful, and they are very good at mixing your own colours. So this is the kind of green that I'm looking for. It's quite a limey colour green, which is quite a traditional colour in canal art. And I've mixed that myself from the blue and the yellow Craftmaster paints and just popped it into a little jam jar just to keep it from drying out. Let me move some of these out of the way because I am very clumsy. And we'll end up with a multicoloured rainbow sign if I'm not careful. Right, so we are going to do the leaves first. So we're going to be working on this top section here. So some paint on your brush. Now this is not going to be a canal art tutorial. I'm not going into detail on the paints or thinning the paints or the brushes or anything like that. I'm purely showing you the style and what you can achieve. Now I'm going to be drawing another circle in there to do a rose. So I'm going to pop some leaves either side of it and a leaf at the top to mirror this one. Now canal art leaves, depending on where you're from in the country, are either very pointy or a bit more rounded. The ones down here in the Black Country are a bit more rounded. Now as you can see, I've not finished the bottom of that leaf off. It's a bit rough and ready, isn't it? But that's fine because we're going to be going over the bottom of that leaf. Now the reason some of these are a bit rough and ready and you don't take your time is because if you can imagine back in the day, 100 years ago, when they were painting the canal boats, they didn't have time to stop and take time to do a huge masterpiece. that boat had to be on its way down to London, up to Manchester, Liverpool with its cargo of whatever it was taking. So they had to paint them very quickly. Now these enamel paints dry really quick as well, so that's good news for us today. Now I'm going to do a little leaf at the top here to mirror the one at the bottom. There we go. Oops. Now because I'm painting on a surface that's not a gloss, highly shiny surface, it's dragging a little bit, but that's fine. There we go, leaves. So we'll give the brush a bit of a clean. Now usually I would have an empty tin can that I would spin the brush inside to get rid of the white spirit, but I'm working a little bit quickly today to try and get this done to show you. We're going to swap now from green and we're going to swap to brown. We're going to put the shading on the bottom of the leaves. You don't need much, a little bit of brown, and we're going from one side to the other and carrying it up the leaf a little bit like that. Now you're probably going to need a palette as well. I've got a palette here that I purchased from Carter's Steam Fair. Go and have a look at their site, it's fabulous. And this is a wooden palette that's just been painted over with a nice cream colour to make it easier to wipe down when you've finished working. But you don't have to have a fancy palette, you can use a paper plate. You can cover a plate with tin foil and use that. Get some more brown on my brush, there we go. And we're just going to put a little bit along there like that. Now as you can see, that's not neat, is it? It's not side to side, it's not equal either side, and it wouldn't be. Every layer you do, don't spend time trying to make it perfect, because there's no such thing as perfection, is there? Now every layer will have another layer on top. So now we're going to move on to pink, which is very, very pink. And we're going to draw a circle. Now as you can see from this one, if I turn it round this way, can you see that? There we go. You'll see that I've got a pink circle. Pop my brush down, give it a bit of a clean. Never leave acrylic on your brush even for a few seconds. So what we've got is a white rose, a red rose and a yellow rose. I'll turn it around so it makes more sense. There we go, hello. Each one has a circle behind it. This one's a pink circle, brown circle, orange circle. It's the pink one that I'm going to do next, okay? And you're basically building up layers. So we'll get some, clean your brush first, Kerri. We will get some pink. And we will draw a nice circle in the middle. Like I say, if you can't draw a circle, it's fine. Draw around a 10p piece or something. It's not a problem. Now usually I would have moved on to the veining of the leaves. You see the yellow bits on the leaves? I would have usually done that bit first. But because I'm doing this at speed, I just want to get this pink circle in the middle to try and give it a bit of time to dry so I can show you the shading. So it's going to be a little bit rough and ready, or very rough and ready in this case. Just tidy those edges up a little bit. Now you can use a flat brush if you're a little bit used to drawing circles. That's why I'm struggling with this one. I prefer a flat brush, to be honest. But I didn't want to make you think you had to go out and buy lots of different brushes. You can do it with just a couple of brushes. And whilst we're here, I will pop a little blue circle. You see the little daisy? In there is a little blue circle, and I just want to mirror that up at the top. So I'll use some blue. This is called French blue, and it's a beautiful colour, but it is also a nightmare to get off your hands. So if you are doing this with children and you have bit the bullet and bought some enamel paints, I suggest you put them in a pair of gloves, because this blue stuff will make them look like a smurf for about a week. Right, there's our circles. How easy was that? Very easy, Kerri, you say. Very easy. Now I'm going to show you the veining. I'll do it on these leaves here because these ones are still drying a little bit. So we're going to use my yellow. As you can see, I'm running out of yellow. I've got an order coming. Thank you, Mr. Postman. Thank you, Craftmaster. I sound like an advert, don't I? I promise I'm not paid by Craftmaster. Although if you want to pay me, Mr. Craftmaster. Right, so we're going to be doing the veining. The way you do it is you push your brush flat to spray out the bristles, and as you draw the line you pull it up and away. Now that's slower than I would usually do it because I'm showing you. Get some more paint. You push down so it splays out, and as you draw you pull up and away. Can you see it makes that lovely tick? More like a little tadpole shape. It's pretty, isn't it? Now when I'm doing this myself, obviously I'm a lot quicker. There we go. So you're going from the top to the middle, you see? So I'm pressing down and lifting up. Get some more paint on my palette. Pressing down and lifting up, you see? So full speed, pressing down, lifting up. Obviously I've been doing it a while, so I might be a little bit quicker than you, but it's only practice. Practice, practice, practice. And once you've done a few hundred, now this at the top here is wet paint on wet paint, which is perfectly fine because on the boats, that's what they would have been doing. They wouldn't have had time to wait. Oh, that was dodgy. They wouldn't have had time to wait for paint to dry. So wet on wet is perfectly fine. If you're not in a rush like me, then you can wait for each layer to dry. And that's wet on dry technique. Both of them perfectly fine. There we go. And I'll just quickly do the third leaf there. Now, when you're painting, try and rest your hand on your wrist. It gives you a bit more control of the brush. And it means you're not leaning on the table. There we go. Ta-da! Leaves done. Now I'm going to add a few little tendrils whilst I'm waiting for the other bits and bobs to dry. Can you see in between my leaves here? I've got these little doohickeys that look a little bit like bamboo. They're called tendrils. I'm going to add some of those in. So back to my green. So any Canal artists watching, I know I'm doing this out of sequence, but needs must. So I'm just going to draw a little line like that. Ta-da. And then pop some leaves on. The same technique as drawing your veins. You press down and lift up as you draw. So you're letting the brush do the work. You're not drawing an outline of a leaf. So you press down and lift up. Now it's fine to move your work around. Obviously if you were doing a canal boat, that's a bit tricky. You can't turn a boat upside down. I've tried. They don't like it. So you learn to paint your roses upside down, your leaves upside down, all sorts. I should probably join a circus and do everything upside down. There we go. Dink. You have to have sound effects as you go, don't you? Dink. Tendrils. Give your brush a clean. As you can see, I don't use kitchen roll. This is an old t-shirt. And then every now and again the t-shirt either gets binned if it can stand up on its own, or it gets thrown in the wash, usually with the dog beds, bless them. Right, so what do we do next? Give it a bit of a blow, because I've got fluff on there. There we go. I'm going to show you how to do the shading in the middle. So can you see on the brown circle, there's what we call an eye, or a cup and saucer there, and then a shading bit around the bottom. I'm going to show you how to do that on the pink one. So for the pink, I'm going to use red. It's all about contrasts. There's no subtle colours in Canal art. And I think that's why I love it, because it really is in your face beautiful. Now this rose is pointing that way. This one's head on. So I'm going to point that one that way. So you've got a bit of a path to follow with the roses. So you draw a little semicircle with your cup underneath for your cup and saucer. There you go. I'm just going to switch back to my larger brush to do the bottom shading. Now this is a Pro Art brush. They're quite good. These ones are synthetic. You can spend a lot of money on sable brushes and beautiful brushes, and they are worth the money if you're doing it properly. And I hide mine away from my daughter. But this one's a synthetic one and it's fine. You don't have to be precious about your brushes. You work to your own budget, don't you, like anything, any kind of hobby. And I'm just going to bring that up like that and give it a little bit of a shade like that. Now it's dragging a little bit, as I said, because we're doing wet on wet. That's fine. We don't mind. Right. Everything's about adding depth, layer upon layer upon layer. So I'm going to take a little bit of black and I'm going to add a bit of definition. I'm going to put a little swoop in the eye and just a little shadow in the bottom of the rose. There we go. Tidy that up. So you're just giving it a little bit of depth. Just shade that in a bit. That's better. And then I'm going to draw a circle in the middle of the daisy. Hopefully the daisy will be dry enough for me to show you the petals. So Canal artists out there are shouting, "You're doing the wrong brush, you're using the wrong brush." Yes, I know, but I just want to show people you can do it with just a couple of brushes. Right, so what next? We've done our shading. We've done our veins and our leaves. We're going to move on to the exciting bit, petals. I'm going to show you on this brown one because that's nice and dry already. If I try and put petals straight onto the top of there, I mean, it is wet, but it's not wet enough for wet on wet because I've been talking, and it's not dry enough to put petals on straight off the bat. So I'm going to do it on a dry one. So I'm going to use red. Let's water this down a bit. Now, oh gosh me, who put the lid on that? This is wonderful stuff. It's stinky, but it's wonderful. It's called PPA. You can get it from Craftmaster. Again, I am not paid by Craftmaster. But it's great for loosening up enamel paint, just making it a little bit thinner so you can work with it more easily. Makes your paint last a bit longer as well. If you're using acrylic, you can just put a bit of water in. So we're going to do the same technique of pressing your brush down. Give it a nice central swoop, central petal. And then I'm going to do a nice big one here. Now there are lots of different shape roses that you can do, but this is the beginner's rose that I'm showing you here. It's a nice and simple one, but you'll see that a lot of the technique is the same. So you're pushing down and pulling away as you draw. I'm going to put some petals on the top. There we go. And if you've got a little bit of a gap, you can put some little tiddlers in. Everyone's going to be different. There's no two flowers the same, is there? And then I'm going to put some on the bottom. It's always a bit of a Russian roulette having my paint over there. It's great because you can see it, but I'm dribbling paint probably. So will she ruin it? Will she not ruin it? Let's see how it goes. There we go. Ta-da! one rose in the middle, and clean my brush off. And in the middle, let's have some nice yellow stamens. Are they stamens? I don't know. I think they're called stamens. I'm not a florist, mate. I don't know. Here we go. Little stamens in the middle. And while I'm at it, I'm going to pop a nice yellow circle in the middle there of my daisy. My crazy daisy. And whilst I've got red on my palette, I'm just going to put a little blob of red there too. There we go. Looking nice, isn't it? It's building, building, building. Now I wonder if we're brave enough to give this a go. Let's. Ooh, it is quite tacky. It is quite tacky. Let's pop the yellow in. I mean, I've shown you how to do a rose, but I would quite like to show you another one. Might be doable. Should we give it a go? And I'll show you the white daisies first, I think. So give your paint a bit of a stir with stirrers that you've not stolen from Costa's or Starbucks. Other coffee shops are available. And we're going to do some little daisy leaves, little petals. You see this one here? Now you don't have to be precise and measure them out, but you're pressing down and you're bringing. Now can you see that lovely little, I don't know if you can see, lovely little drag there where you've got open bits at the end? That is brilliant. That's what you want. That's perfect. You don't want it to be a solid colour. You want it to show through underneath. I'm working in a very tight space here at home, as I'm sure all of we are. But it is strange getting used to it and not having all your bits and bobs around you that you like, and you keep reaching for something and it's not there, or tripping over the dog, or going for your nice sable brushes and realising that your daughter's using it to paint a snail in the garden. There we go. Little crazy daisy. Now, shall we give this white one a go and see if it'll drag or not? Let's have a go. Like I say, it's not, because I've been talking, it's too dry to do wet on wet, but not dry enough to do wet on dry. So it's a bit of Russian roulette again. It's a gamble. What's going to happen? Now, this bottom rose is facing that way. This one's facing us. This one's going to be facing that way. So I'm going to turn the board that way, and I'm going to repeat the process for the petals. So a nice big petal in the middle. Nice petal there. Now the good thing about enamels is if you make a mistake, there is a bit of wiggle room to fix it. And there's always little tricks of the trade you can do to hide an ugly flower or an ugly petal. Not that I ever do ugly ones. No, no, no. Russian roulette again, see? Taking paint over the top of it. Oh, I'm living dangerously today. It's got a baldy bit over here, isn't it? Let's put him some petals. I don't know why this one's a him. Bit awkward maybe, that's why. There we go. But can you see how quickly it can be done? If you imagine you've got a 72-foot boat that's got to be on its way, you work fast, don't you? There we go. That's all the flowers done. Pretty quick, huh? Now there are other things you can do to it, but we're not going to cover those because that's a bit too in-depth for what we're doing. All we want is just a nice pretty sign, isn't it? But what I will do is put some gypsy brush strokes around the outside, just to form a little bit of a border. Give it a stir. So again, this is a cream that I've mixed up from the other colours, and we'll, oh, it's a little bit thick, so we'll slacken it off with some PPA, and we'll do a border. I won't go all the way around because you'll lose the will to live. But what you're doing is resting on your wrist again, pressing down and lifting up like that, see? So the technique is very similar for a lot of the brush strokes. And then in the middle, just do a little drag like that. So there you go. You go all the way around there then. This is obviously a little bit more rushed than I would usually do, but it gives you an idea of what you can do. Now, leave that to dry, whether you're using acrylic or enamels. I'd leave it to dry at least a day, For enamels, maybe a couple of days longer, just for it to cure. And then you can varnish it. So this one is one I made earlier. You can see it's nice and shiny. This is yacht varnish, so it's had 2 coats. I might pop a third one on, but it's been outside already, so I might not bother. And you could do something different on the back if you wanted to. And then it'll be ready to hang up. So there you have it. So I hope you've been able to follow that. If not, rewind it. If you've got any comments, stick them in the comments box below if you've got any questions. If you do have a go, then I'd love to see what you get up to. Get the kids involved, see what they come up with. Make up your own flowers, your own colours. Let's see what we can do. So enjoy the sun while we have it. Look after each other and try and stay safe, and try and stay sane if you're homeschooling. And I'll see you all again soon for some of the other videos we've got in the series. Okay? So look after yourselves. See you soon. Bye.